Are dollars and bank accounts safe? This is Brian Lewis with MMT Investing, and things just changed. So, if you asked Jeff Snyder if dollars are safe, he'd probably ask you what kind of dollars you're talking about. Are you talking about domestic bank deposits? Are you talking about reserve money? Are you talking about the crazy international Eurodollar world banking system? Um, So, are dollars safe in the short term in your American bank account? Probably, yes. They're FDIC insured, which means there's not actually money to insure that. The only thing really backing FDIC insurance is whether or not the Fed wants to print the money to cover those losses or not. So if the government decides to cover those losses, the Fed will print it and give it to you. If they decide not to, they'll just be like, "Oh, sorry, it's gone." Um, so are bank accounts safe? No, not really. I mean, they could decide not to, you know, insure the money. I mean, if there's a bank failure, that money could be gone, or they might give it back to you. That's a it's definitely a risk, and the U.S. government has passed a bunch of bailout or bail-in legislation over the past several years. So now, if there are bank failures, the banks have the right to just take your money and keep it to cover their losses. Once you deposit your money in the bank, it's no longer your money. The bank owns that money. You've loaned it to them, and maybe they'll pay you back, and maybe they won't. Um, so, as far as having your dollars in a bank account for a long term kind of hold, I think the only safe place to put dollars is at the Fed. You can go to the Fed Treasury website. It's called treasurydirect.com. You can go directly to the Fed's website, treasurydirect.com. Uh, you can open an account where you can buy treasuries. So a treasury is basically just a savings account at the Fed. Um, and you have to put it into a treasury for 3 months or 6 months or a year or up 10 years, whatever you want. Um, but you can just put it in 3-month treasuries. And then once you get out of the treasury, I mean, the interest rates are so low, who cares right now? So, I mean, I had money in Treasury Direct a few months ago. My 3-month treasury expired, and I told it to roll over into a C of I, which is it's a savings account at the Fed with zero interest rates. Basically, once you've bought a treasury, you can roll it into the C of I account, which is a zero interest. But you don't have to have any kind of term. You can take it out of there whenever you want. It's just like a holding thing, but you could just leave it there for like 6 months until you need it. Um, to me, that's the safest place to keep fresh powder. So I finished a 3-month treasury not too long ago. I was still in a treasury when we were climbing up to the top of this bubble, and when this thing popped, I had just gotten out of a treasury, so I had moved money back to my checking account and then moved it into a new E-Trade account over here. So it took me the entire time of this crash to get my money out of treasuries and then over into E-Trade. And finally got the transfer completed like right here, and then bang, I got short here, and then bang, I got extra short right here. So, um, yeah, if you put it in Treasury Direct, that is the safest place to keep dollars because the Fed is not going to default. They can definitely print the money to give it back. You have like no counterparty risk if you keep your money at Treasury Direct, but it's not like a checking account. It's like a kind of slow savings account that you could transfer money out of. And then as far as other banks, I mean, who who knows, man? who knows? I mean, like just during this crash, you could have banks getting in all kinds of trouble, and they have the legal right to just basically bail in and take your money if they get in trouble. And if they don't get in trouble right now, I mean, if we have this, 3-year uh, bear market kind of situation, I mean, we could have banks failing and taking people's money at any point over the next like 3 years. I don't trust them. I wouldn't want to have my money in banks more than just like a little bit of money in the checking account. Um, I mean, I think physical gold would probably be good. Silver is a good place to hold money, but I think silver probably will be drawing down on this bear market. So yeah, are dollars safe? Uh, well, right now dollars are a much better option than like being in some kind of ETF and losing all your money in the stock market. Like if you're not shorting this market, then you probably should be holding on to dollars. Um, So like the play that I'm doing right now is getting short tech here, then I'm gonna go long gold on the up, and then short tech and probably oil here, and then long gold again. Um, and then I have other money, just cash, uh, to see, because I mean I'm not gonna short like all of my money, but so yeah, so I'm just long dollars throughout the whole crash, and I'm long gold in between on the ups, and then I have cash, most of my life savings in cash right now in a money market account, which I don't like. I'm transferring that over to just like an FDIC account right now, which is not good. But I need it available right now during this whole crash situation. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much the dollar situation as far as like if your checking account is safe, not or your savings account, not really. I mean, probably be okay for now, but not safe. I mean, there's risk there for sure. Um, but then like, is the dollar safe like in terms of like hyperinflation and going to zero? Like that's not going to happen this year. Right now, there's a huge contraction on. Dollars are getting stronger relative to every other currency, and this whole oil situation is making that worse. So you could go long like the DXY, like the dollar against other currencies now, but that doesn't make the dollar worth more like in terms of buying food or something. The dollar always goes down. It's just right now other currencies are going down faster than the dollar's going down. So it looks like dollar goes up on the DXY when the other currencies fall faster than the dollar falls. Um, so I mean, is the dollar a good investment? No, it's a better investment than a crashing stock market. Uh, but And then, I mean, right now, there are no investments right now. I mean, gold is stable and shorting is risky and everything else is crashing and risky. I don't know. I mean, I think dollars and gold are the only things that you should hang on to right now. And if you know how to short, I mean, get in there and get it. Uh, I guess touch on the international euro dollar banking system. So like probably around like the 1950s, like the Bretton Woods, the Federal Reserve dollar was the world reserve currency from whatever it was, 19 like I think a 30 something, kind of switched from the British pound to the US dollar as the world reserve currency. It was like both currencies were world reserve currencies for a little while. It kind of switched uh, for like 10 years maybe to the Fed being the world reserve currency. But then we had international banks outside of the Federal Reserve System loaning dollars out internationally, and then those internationally loaned out dollars that are outside of the Federal Reserve System became the world reserve currency, and the dollar used to be backed by gold. So like, uh, what year was Nixon? 80, I think it was 82. Uh, when Nixon closed the gold window, that wasn't like something he decided to do. Like basically, they found out that there had been a ridiculous amount of dollars created outside of the system, and America creates the dollars, so people started trying to trade all of those international dollars for America's gold-backed dollars, and America went like, "Oh no, like this system is over. Like, whoops, like what just happened?" So they unbacked the dollar from gold, and then yeah, and then we had a completely fiat world currency. The euro dollars are the world currency, and then the domestic dollars are the Fed. So I mean, the Fed can supply the primary dealer banks in America, but the Fed really can't supply these international like Deutsche Bank and HSBC. Like the Fed uh, can't really supply them with dollars, and right now, all the international banks are what are in trouble right now, not the domestic banks. Um, So yeah, like just this past week, the Fed's creating all of these programs to try to deliver money to try to fight against this contraction. But they can't get the money out. Like it doesn't matter how many dollars they give to the primary dealer banks. The primary dealer banks do not want to loan. They don't want to loan any money out, and they don't want to accept the collateral that people are trying to trade in the repo market. Um, So there's this huge loan credit contraction right now. So yeah, the Fed just opened a euro dollar repo market, a brand new repo market. It's called FEMA, not FEMA, like the emergency thing. It's FIMA, and I don't remember what it stands for. It doesn't really matter. But they just opened an international banking euro dollar repo market, a new repo market. I mean, specifically just to bail out like Deutsche Bank and HSBC, because they're bankrupt right now and they can't loan out money and they're not accepting collateral. And this is why we're having this crash, is because people can't get dollars. It's just basically just like a normal credit contraction, like normal cycles, except this is the giant credit contraction at the end of like this giant worldwide uh, dollar international dollar system. And I don't really know what happens after this. I mean, after we get out of this contraction, it's gonna be interesting. Um, so yeah, long the dollar to the bottom of this crash, and then I would imagine inflation starts kicking up over the next 3 years, and who knows, maybe over the next 20 years or something crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, yeah, so this is not investment advice. It's not advice at all. And don't listen to anything that I say. uh, what was I gonna say? Oh, the like button. Please hit the like button for me because it helps my YouTube channel out a lot. And then subscribe if you like. And happy dollaring or trading.